We are live, and I'm amazingly honored uh, to share with you and excited to share with you that I'm here on this very first pop-up summit. Surprise, you're watching a summit. The whole idea of this is to show that we can get out of procrastination and into action and choose what we want to create and not know how it's all going to unfold. So the idea of this summit NeuroCreative Leadership Live is to bring in the ideas and the concepts of neurocreativity and leadership and how we lead our lives through procrastination, perfectionism, rejection sensitivities, as whether you call yourself neurodivergent or not, those that haven't felt like they fitted in, that get to lead in their creative ideas, their scattered brilliance. So brilliance, sustainable brilliance, natural rhythms, and so that's the idea of this summit. And I can't wait to introduce you to Elaine Godley. I've only just met her recently, and I was blown away by what the work you're doing and the work, so much work that I've done in the process to recognize how much work you have been doing.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
So I yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. So without further ado, there's some questions I want to ask you as a leader, as a neurocreative leader of your own life, work, and business. And the title of this talk is called Decode Your Health to Unlock Your Unique Identity and Holistic Health. And so there's going to be a lot of, not too many questions. It's very bite-sized, a very bite-sized process because we're going to introduce a lot of ideas, but bring in some real gold. And then we're going to expand on it again in May. The idea is to not try to know all the answers to everything all at once, but not just to say, hey, we just got a little carrot to dangle. We're going to delve into some really cool stuff as well. So I hope you're ready. And firstly, Elaine, in a nutshell, what do you do? Why do you do it in terms of this approach to knowing your identity and health? And why that matters. I call it personality power to understand that personality. And and some people, I guess, struggle with their identity all the time. They're in their thoughts going, I'm this, I'm that. Um, why is it so difficult? This, why do I find this difficult? I'm this type of person, I'm t that type of person inside this monologue. And so just a little quick thing, like a little bit of your story, your background, and why this is your potentially your favorite topic, or is there something else
Yeah.
underneath it? So
Yeah.
in a really short nutshell, let us know all the juicy details.
Right. Okay. Well, we haven't got long enough, quite honestly. But it started when I was at school, and I never fitted in at school. I was always told, you're never focused. If you only paid attention, if you only sat still, um, you do okay. Well, I think I've done okay, but I've lots of stumbles along the way. I don't class myself as neurodiverse, but I suspect if I could be bothered to get a diagnosis, I probably have ADHD or something like that. But I put it down to my personality style, which is I use the DISC model of personality profiling. And I've been using it over 30 years. And when I first left corporate, no, tell a lie, when I first started it was kind of mid 90s, so I was still in corporate at that point. But I've been doing it over 30 years. Um, when I first got trained, I started helping senior management teams in schools because I thought if I had understood my personality type when I was at school, I would have got a lot better, a lot quicker. So I started mentoring head teachers. There was a particular scheme in the 90s that the government had called Business in the Community. So business people then mentored educators and so on. And I helped hundreds of schools and students and so on. So my love for it goes back to, had I had the support on knowing who I was, then I would have got, a lot quicker. And I link it with health these days, because when we understand our personality and we work to our strengths, our health inevitably increases. And we're a lot more solid, we're authentic, and we don't have this gap. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about a gap. I talk about a shift. So when we're shifting our behavior from our natural style to our work mask, we end up with all kinds of health problems. And I can predict, by looking at a behavior pattern, the likelihood of somebody being ill, what they're likely to be ill with. And as a trained nutritionist and biohacker these days, I've got solutions to help them.
Amazing. That sounds so fascinating. And thank you for sharing all of that. And I totally resonate with the idea of not knowing I was dyslexic until I studied and had to a master's, and I had to insist on the test. And basically, uh, I tested my personality in the first year of that before I got the diagnosis as part of the process of osteopathy studies. And then I tested it 3 years later, and I went from introverted to extroverted. So within that process, I just felt like I was more me, and I was extroverted because I love people. I just didn't know how to communicate. I hadn't practiced communication skills at that point, or no, that wasn't taught. I didn't know I could learn it, and so the idea of neurodivergence. This is a really interesting piece that I'm bringing up or raising up a question about, which I think hopefully people that are listening will want to delve into themselves. Well, what if neurodivergence as a functional anatomical and physiological process is that way of we've learned a habit through a belief system and a thought process, and it becomes an embodied, lit up part of our brain as a personality. Neurodivergence is personality, not necessarily things like fixed and stuck. And I'm not belittling anyone's challenges at all. I'm just here to think what else is possible to change, because that's where I went through my mental health challenges and came back out through natural methods as well. I'm curious, Elaine, about to really laser it in. What's your favorite self-care practice as that relates to your personality or your neurodivergence, if it was an identity piece that helps you? In a nutshell, what's your favorite self-care piece that you do for yourself?
Playing pickleball. You nicked
Amazing.
that, did you?
I love table tennis.
Mm.
I play table tennis when I in periods of my life when I need to get moving, and yeah, I sort of almost forget about it and then come back to it every now and again. I almost like the challenge of forgetting to forgetting how to do it so that the dexterity comes back, rather than try to keep pushing and pushing, become athletic or something, because I'll just get hyper focused on it and not stop and burn out. But yeah, yeah, that's really amazing. I love that. What
Different personality styles have different ways of recharging the batteries. So my profile, I use the disc model. I'm a high D, well, I'm a high I and a high D, and lots of high D people go for a run. I don't like running, but I do like playing pickleball, which involves running. But typically it's a competitive sport, but we play for fun here in the Algarve, and it really is fun. So we get fresh air, we get exercise, we get community, conversation, laughter. It ticks all the boxes for me.
Love it. I 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 love it. That's amazing to hear. So now there's one question that I really want to ask you around there's 5 mental powers that we have as humans that help us to step outside of any blame for self or others, that help us to keep moving and mentally fit. And one of them's I'm going to say them and see which one. I'd love to know which one lands with you the most as well for what that means for you as well. So there's empathy, curiosity, creativity, mm, navigation from a perspective of what does your heart say and what's most important and what today means for later rather than just average get on with stuff. But that sense of heart-centered navigation and then activation to imagine doing something and then doing it and actually just taking the action and being in flow with that action process. Which one of those resonates with you the most?
Curiosity.
Love it. Love it. And what's important for you about that?
I'm always eager to learn. I listen to podcasts, I listen to audiobooks. I don't have time, or I choose not to have time to sit and read books anymore. But I go through a good 100 books every year, and I do that through audio books, when I'm driving or walking the dogs or, tootling about in the kitchen or whatever I'm doing. So I'm learning the whole time. I'm always curious to learn, eager to learn.
Amazing. Amazing. And what does that do for you in your leadership and your creativity?
Well, it helps to open the mind. It helps to have an inquiring mind and be able to t show other people, teach other people, have conversations with other people, have debates. You can't have a sensible conversation if you don't know the topic. So I'm learning, and then I talk to other people about what I've just learned. I've just read a book or listened to a book. Do you know about this or do you know about that? And it starts a conversation. And then that helps the relationship with people. So it's a good way to introduce somebody new if they've not heard of whatever it is that I'm going on about.
Brilliant. I love it. I love that. Um, the reason why I shared about what does it mean to you about creativity and leadership is also because this is the NeuroCreative Leadership Live. It's also about understanding where you stand on how um, creativity and leadership link together. The concept being leadership often traditionally is this sense of masculine energy of sharing a vision and helping people to take action or manage themselves through role modeling, as it were. And then creativity could be seen as the intuitive pathways of in and the feminine energy of the process. So because I think that when we combine the two, what do you think that you get for as how what your creativity is and your leadership is to and how you see the link going on for that and how you help others?
So, with my personality style being a high I and high D, the high I's lead by intuition, and I do everything by my intuition. What's my body telling me is the right thing to do? So I'm not a logical person. In fact, I interviewed somebody from my podcast yesterday, and this guy invented the three brains intelligence. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, threebrainsintelligence.com. Fascinating guy. You'd be interested to meet him, Rory. And I did a scoring thing on his system, and it talks about the three brains: the head, the heart, and the gut. And I came out high on the intuition, the heart centered type of feeling. Um, I was quite I was quite balanced, but the head was definitely lower because I'm not a logical person. That's the last thing that kicks in with me. It's intuition, and then it's the gut feeling is this is really the right thing to do, and then the logic comes in afterwards.
Amazing. Yeah, I actually studied the multiple braining integration techniques, systematic coaching it that I had for myself, and that is exactly what helped me get back out of like an identity shift of not knowing how to be a coach or not feeling like I could be a coach and all of that stuff and leadership. And so it was absolutely powerful to run through that process. And now I love helping people with it too. That's the way I work too. And I really appreciate you sharing that. And I love the way that's come up naturally. Um, and so um, we're we're moving into the idea of we've got an idea of how what you do and how you work individually as an individual. And so I'm curious about your unique value proposition, if you want to call it a sort of more logical term. Um, but that idea of how how you work intuitively, how you are uniquely wired to be you for serving others. Your strengths, your natural strengths, your natural skills. What is the value in all of that that gets the best? What kind of best results do you get because of that with people?
I think a lot of it is experiential because I don't class myself as a coach. I class myself as a mentor. I'm 69 now, so I'm no spring chicken, and I've been around the block several times and got dizzy in the process, and I've learned things along the way. So to me, it's when I experience something, if it's gone wrong, obviously I learn from it. But it's I have these kind of three pillars now with how I work with people. So we start off with the behavior profile so that the person can see who they are, who they've always been, who they're ever likely to be, and where the gaps are, if any. And I believe, although I'm not a logical person, I do understand the importance for many people to see scientific explanations for things. So we do testing, we do hair testing, we do blood testing, and so on. So that gives the scientific verification, validation of what's going on with the person's body, and then we do the mentoring. So I have a kind of a three-step approach, and all of those bring their own value. But when you bring them all together and then add stories and my experience and the qualifications and so on, and having been in the situation with given a terminal diagnosis, where are we, 2015, when I was told that I would be dead within a year unless I did what the doctors told me. Um, and so I've been on the other side of things as well. So I know how people, um, go into fear and overwhelm and so on. So it's a combination of science, intuition, experiential mentoring. That's kind of how I am.
Brilliant, brilliant. It sounds fantastically methodical as well, even though you said not necessarily
Mhm.
logical. It sounds actually very methodical, which is what I got when I first met you, was like, wow, that's a really good method. And I guess that's sometimes the way we find what we need to help for ourselves is if that's a weakness and we train it, then we become balanced in ourselves, and the offer of how we help becomes balanced. That's just what's coming up for me with this process. An amazing method. It sounds fascinating. And
The, alongside all of those three things, we also look at I've created the godly healing wheel, and there's 10 areas. So some years ago I volunteered on a cancer helpline for 2 years, and I was taking calls. I was the Wednesday girl, took the calls from people newly diagnosed or their families. And I found that there's 10 areas in life that everybody was struggling with. It was a repeated, list of things. So I've created this health wheel. So we also go through that as well, looking at the person's lifestyle, different areas of their life, where the toxicity is, where they can help themselves in nutrition, um, under guidance from the tests when they come back. So there's a whole bundle of things that go in, but it's giving the person the evidence, alongside the coaching support, the mentoring, the stories, and so on, and put it into context for the person, because without context, it's meaningless.
brilliant. Thanks for sharing. Thanks so much, Elaine. Um, it's like you say, it's so important to get a full overview. What I'm hearing is full overview, and I love the word holistic too. I come from that holistic what I call holistic fitness
Mhm.
to tune up and look at what needs work on sometimes isn't much compared to boosting on the strengths and working with the strengths of the person first as well to help them bolster.
Yeah, absolutely. Working on the strengths is key because by default, the limitations will rise by default if you concentrate on what you're good at, and then you're going to be thriving. And the things that you're not so good at, other people can help with those things. And that's where the team and collaboration comes in. We need each other. We can't just be in isolation. And leaders today need to be more aware of the people. Years ago, when I was a business consultant, I had on my back of my business card, people, process, profits. You get the right people doing the right thing with the behavior profile, doing what they're good at, what they're thriving at. They will determine the process that's required, and in turn, the business will gain the profits. It's not rocket science, it's very, very simple, but I think a lot of leaders have forgotten that.
Thank you. Thanks. That yeah, I love that. I love that simplicity. Yes, amazing. So the what I love to remember, I like the call to action for a lot of people is this sort of big thing. Call to action to me is if we put it down into real slowing that down, the calling, a call to action. It's so a call to action in business is so important. And to see for what it is, it can be a I'm not in or I am in. But if I'm in, but I'm afraid to do something or I put it off immediately, it's a call that I refuse. So the reason why I'm sharing that is that you've got something you can share and if you've and anyone that's been listening, any questions, comments, put it in the chat or highlights what you've learned from this. As soon as you get an insight, declaring it and writing it, sharing it, immediately ripple affects that positivity of what we do like, what we do want. And so I encourage anyone that's watching to share a favorite highlight of what you've heard, what you've liked, that help spread the message of um, neurocreativity being awesome, Elaine being awesome for what she's doing, and what have you got that would if someone's interested in what you've been sharing, how could someone find out more or connect with you?
Okay, well, my website is called discplus.health, DISCPLUS, discplus.health. And on there, there's lots of interviews, podcasts I've done in various years. And also there's a link to the hub, the health hub. So on the health hub, there's hundreds of free articles, free health articles. You can go on there, search for whatever topic you're looking for, and you can download, print, whatever you want to do on the health articles, and that's the way to reach me through there. So displus.health.
Brilliant. And you mentioned about something that someone could grab hold specifically. I remember we talked about there was something that specifically they could get hold of you or get. I can't remember what you said just before the call.
I
There
can't I can't remember either.
was something that you could offer the the listener that's interested.
Okay. People are very welcome to do their own profile. Again, go to displus.health, register for a free account, and you can do your own disc profile on there. And so then I can send that to you, to the individual, and see if there's anything lurking around, see if there's any misalignments, or if you're completely authentic, which very few people are actually. It's surprising how people are not authentic because we don't know when we're first meeting people, are we meeting the real person or are we meeting the mask? We don't know, and it's not our place to judge either. You have to have more time or know what you're looking for and asking for. That's where intuition comes in, you see.
Yeah, and also we don't know what we don't know if we're not being authentic in that moment, we don't know we are. Otherwise, we would choose to be.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's a fact that's a whole thing that in fact that's what I wanted to also say. What have you got out of our conversation? Because I've got something I'm going to share with because basically what we're going to do here is continue the conversation in May on a longer call. If you've liked this and you've liked what this is going to be about, there's going to be so many other talks based on covering various areas of NeuroCreative Leadership in health, wealth, stealth, and business um, tools for neurodivergent, heart-centered creatives to get their projects out there and seen. And so, within that process of what we're talking here, um, Elaine, what have you got from this call? That what's a word or a topic that's come up for you that you've liked about this?
I think kind of sticking to your onions, as my mum used to say. It's important. Whilst we're all, curiosity came up earlier on, um, but we do also need to have a method. So how I explain to you what I do, hearing myself say, I hadn't realized how much of a method it is, and it is a method. So even though I'm saying that I'm working from an intuitive core, I actually have got a method. And that's a first for me at my great age, and I've never had that. So I've actually got somewhere now, and articulating it to you has shown me that I've actually got a method.
I love it. I love it. And this is what it's about. This is what it's about. It's about heart-centered curiosity and having conversations. Because now, what I've got from this call as well is that I love the what I call holistic fitness approach to things and the identity, what I call personality power. Those are two pillars of neurocreative leadership. And what you've shared there is that you're getting present to the methodology and the curiosity. So I propose that in May, when we come back for the longer summit, we'll do a call that's twice as long, and we'll co-create some piece of information or training that is a one piece thing. It's not going to be like we're not designing a whole course to do, but what we'll do is based on feedback from this call, based on um, the feedback from the summit, we can tailor our calls and our trainings to serve everyone that really found this fascinating in the first place.
Cool. Yeah,
So
that would be neat. Yeah, very good.
amazing. We'll do that then. I've already declared it. It's happening. So see you in May, Elaine, or hopefully before that. And I'll be in touch. Again, highlights, comments, questions. There's a hashtag NeuroCreative Leadership Live 26 that's going to be used in these calls to be able to trace them around the internet before the recordings get taken away. There's a registration link to access the dashboard for NeuroCreative Leadership Live 2026 pop-up summit. Surprise, surprise. You're in a summit, you're watching a summit. And thanks again for watching. It's been a pleasure. And we'll be in touch. Love the feedback.
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks,
Rory.
Elaine. Any last thought?
An apology. I just called you Corey. My grandson's called Corey.
Oh, that's fine.
Rory.
Amazing. Thanks again. Much love.
Thank you.
Uh,
Bye.
together, truly. Oh, what's my phrase? I've got a phrase.